You have $5,000. Maybe it's sitting in a savings account earning something that rounds to nothing. Maybe it's in your checking account because you keep meaning to do something with it, but life keeps hot. Penny first. Maybe you moved it to a high yield savings account 6 months ago because you read that was the smart move, and now it's sitting there at for 0.5% and you feel like you've handled it. You haven't handled it. You've parked it. And there is a very expensive difference between parking money and putting money to work. Here's what the people who actually turn $5,000 into $50. Zero understand that most people don't. It's not a secret investment. It's not a stock tip. It's not timing the market or finding the next big thing. It's a structural decision that takes about 45 minutes to make, requires almost no ongoing effort, and uses a process that has worked for every rolling 30-year period in modern market history. The reason most busy people don't do it isn't because it's complicated. It's because the internet makes it look complicated. Today, we're going to cut through all of that. My name is Nick, and I spend a disproportionate amount of time thinking about why people with identical starting points end up in completely different financial positions a decade later. Today, we're going through the wrong moves that quietly kill your returns, the exact strategy that actually works with real numbers at every step, and 3 specific decisions you can make this week that require zero ongoing effort to maintain. Hit subscribe if you want the math instead of the motivation. Let's get into it. Let's start with the wrong moves, because if you have $5,000 and you've consumed any personal finance content, you've probably considered at least 2 of these. They're not stupid moves. They're just expensive in ways that never show up on any statement you'll receive. Wrong move 1. The high-yield savings hold. A high-yield savings account at for 0.5% earns you $225 on $5,000 in the first year. That feels like something. It is not something compared to what you're about to see. $5,000 in a high-yield savings account at for 0.5% over 20 years grows to roughly $12,000. $5. Zero in a total market index fund at a historically average 8% annual return over the same 20 years grows to $23. 300. Same money, same 20 years, nearly double the result. And the effort required for the index fund is identical to the effort required for the savings account. It's the same 45-minute setup. You're just opening a different account. High-yield savings is the right place for your emergency fund. It is not the right place for money you won't need for 5 or more years. If your $5,000 is investment money parked somewhere comfortable, you are paying for that comfort with opportunity cost, and the bill arrives in your 60s when it's too late to dispute it. Wrong move 2. Waiting for the right moment. This one feels the most rational and costs the most money. The market feels high. There might be a correction. You'll get in after things settle. This is the logic. It sounds prudent. It is not prudent. Research by Charles Schwab tracked 5 investor types over 20 years. The perfect market timer, someone who invested at the absolute lowest point every single year, finished with $151,000. The person who just invested immediately, no timing, no strategy, first day of every year, finished with $135,000. The person who waited for the right moment and kept the money in cash finished with $44,000. Perfect timing beat immediate investing by $16,000. Waiting beat neither. And perfect timing only exists in hypothetical studies. In real life, the choice is between investing now and waiting. And waiting has a $91,000 price tag on a single $5,000 decision over 20 years. Your $5,000 is not waiting for a better entry point. It is losing compounding every week it sits still. Now, let's talk about what actually works. And let's put a real person in the numbers. Because percentages are easy to ignore and dollar amounts are not. Meet Priya. She's 34. Works in healthcare administration. Makes $88,000 a year. Has 2 kids and a mortgage and approximately 0 spare mental bandwidth. She is not a finance person. She does not have time to become one. She has $5,000 in a high-yield savings account that she's been meaning to do something with for 8 months. Every time she sits down to research it, She falls into a rabbit hole of conflicting advice and gives up. This is not a character flaw. This is exactly what the volume of financial content online is designed to produce. Confusion keeps money parked. Here's what Priya actually does. And notice how simple this is, because the simplicity is the entire point. She opens a brokerage account at Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab. Takes 20 minutes. Requires a social security number, a linked bank account, and a password. That's the setup. She puts the $5,000 into one fund, not a diversified portfolio, not a mix of ETFs across sectors and geographies. One fund. A total U.S. stock market index fund, FSKAX at Fidelity, VTSAX at Vanguard, SWTSX at Schwab. These funds hold thousands of companies simultaneously. Charge fees so close to zero they're essentially free, and have returned an average of 8% annually across every rolling 30-year period in American market history. One purchase. Done. She sets up an automatic monthly contribution of $200. That amount leaves her checking account on the 2nd of every month without requiring a decision. She never has to choose to invest again. She already chose. The system executes. Now here's what that actually produces. The $5,000 lump sum at 8% over 20 years becomes $23,300. The $200 monthly contribution over the same period compounds to $117,800. Combined, Priya's account after 20 years holds approximately $141,000. She contributed $53,000 total. The market returned $88,000 on top of that. She made more from compounding than she ever put in herself. But let's focus on the $50,000 milestone, because the path there matters as much as the destination. At year 5, Priya's account sits at around $22,000. The growth is real but not dramatic. This is where most people lose faith and make the mistake of changing something. At year 10, she crosses $51,000. She has turned $5,000 into $50,000 in 10 years without picking a single stock, watching the market once, or making a single active decision after the initial setup. At year 15, she's approaching $100,000. The compounding has visibly accelerated. The account is growing by more each quarter than she contributes in a year. At year 20, $141,000 for 45 minutes of setup and $200 a month she didn't feel spending. The math is not complicated. What's complicated is doing it when the world is designed to make it feel more complicated than it is. Here's why busy people specifically stall on this. Because if simplicity were enough, everyone would already be doing it. The first reason is optionality paralysis. You sit down to figure out what to do with $5,000. Immediately, you have 17 fund options across for brokers with slightly different expense ratios and a common section. Love people arguing about which one is definitively correct. Then you're researching Roth IRA versus taxable brokerage. Then you're reading about whether to pay down debt first. 90 minutes later, you've decided nothing, and the $5,000 stays parked for another 3 months. This is a completely predictable response to information overload, not a failure of commitment. Here's the filter. For Priya, and for most busy people with a 5+ year horizon, almost none of that complexity matters. The difference between FSKAX and VTSAX will not determine her financial future. The right account is a Roth IRA if your income qualifies. Under $146,000 single, $230,000 married for 2024, because the tax-free growth adds an estimated $15,000 to $25,000 to her outcome over 20 years at no additional cost. If you're over the limit or already maxed for the year, open a standard taxable brokerage. Either way, open something tonight. The decision is simpler than the internet makes it look. Everything else is refinement you can do later. Refinement later beats paralysis now every single time. The second reason is the intention-action gap, the space between deciding to invest and actually investing. Studies consistently show people dramatically overestimate their own follow-through on financial intentions that require a future action. I'll set that up this weekend has cost the middle class more in foregone compounding than almost any bad investment decision. Because the weekend arrives and something else arrives with it. That the research fix for this is specific implementation intentions. Not I'll open an account soon. Instead, I will open a Fidelity account Thursday at 8 p.m. when the kids are in bed, link my Chase checking account, and buy $5,000 of FSKAX. That level of specificity increases follow-through rates by over 200% according to research. Published in the British Journal of Health Psychology, the specific plan converts a recurring mental to-do into a scheduled event that happens once and produces results for decades. 3 decisions. This week, 45 minutes. Decision 1, open the account. Go to Fidelity.com, Vanguard.com, or Schwab.com tonight. Open a Roth IRA if you qualify. Open a taxable brokerage if you don't or if you've already hit this year's. Contribution limit. Don't research which broker is marginally better. They are effectively identical for this purpose. Pick one and open it. Decision 2. Buy the fund. 1 purchase. FSKAX at Fidelity, VTSAX or VTI at Vanguard, SWTSX or SCHB at Schwab. All total market index funds. All under 0.05% expense ratio. All within rounding error of each other over your time horizon. Buy the whole $5,000 at once. Research consistently shows lump sum investing beats staged entry about 2/3 of the time because markets rise more than they fall and time in market is worth more than timing the market. Decision 3. Automate the contribution. Set a recurring monthly transfer, whatever you can commit to without revisiting the decision. $100, $200, $500. The number matters less than the automation. Once it's set, it runs without you. You won't decide each month whether to invest. You won't feel the market's mood or the news cycle or a rough week at work influence the decision. The system invests on your behalf every single month. And in 10 years, you will not remember most of those months. That is the entire point. Let me show you both versions of Priya's future, because I think it matters to see them side by side. In version 1, Priya keeps the $5. 0 in the high-yield savings account. The decision always feels slightly too complicated to make today. She adds to it occasionally. At 54, she has $18,000 in savings and a 401k her employer mostly funded. She's not broke, she's not in crisis. But she spent 2 decades as a capable, intelligent person and built a fraction of what was mathematically available to her. And the cost of that fraction was one Thursday evening she never spent. In version 2, Priya opens the account Thursday night, buys the fund, sets the transfer, never thinks about it again in any stressful or active way. At 44, her account crosses $50,000. At 54, she has $141,000 in that account alone. She has options: retire earlier, take the job she actually wants, fund her kids' education without panic. Take a year off to figure out what the second half of her life looks like. The $5,000 didn't give her those options. The decision about the $5,000 made once on a Thursday night gave her those options. The difference between those two versions is not intelligence. It's not income. It's not financial expertise. It's 45 minutes and 3 decisions that the second version of Priya made and the first version kept meaning to make. $5,000 becomes $50. 0 because of time, and time only works if you start. Open the account, buy the fund, automate the contribution. Your future self won't need a spreadsheet to know it was the right call.